If you want to practice Satie's Gymnopédies, you will usually come across tutorials that explain how the harmonic structures of the piece are more complex and fascinating than you might initially think. Can you influence the interpretation through the harmonies? No, you can simply take note of them and enjoy them, but you cannot influence them. Another formal element, however, can be shaped. In this video, we show you what you can actually pay attention to if you want to find your own interpretation of the work, and why it opens up fascinating deeper structures in the music. We suggest this alternative approach in 5 steps. For compositions from the 19th and 20th centuries allow us to identify the fundamental compositional principle underlying the Gymnopédie. Finally, the analysis of Satie's masterpiece shows you what you can do to consciously shape your personal interpretation. What compositional model underlies the Gymnopédie? Basically, it anticipates a technique that dominates electronic music. The musical space is constructed through short, repeated loops, over which the melodic events develop freely. The whole then thrives on the appealing tension between the static foundation and the complex developments in the melody. The basic compositional model can be just as idyllic as it can be traumatic and paralyzing. The Gymnopédie has historical precursors and counterparts. They can be found in 3 typical genres of character pieces: the gondola song, the lullaby, and the elegy. Let's take a look at 4 variations. In his Venetian gondola song, Felix Mendelssohn exemplifies the compositional principle inspired by the rocking motion of Venetian gondolas, which probably developed as early as the 18th century. The meter of the barcarolle is 6/8, and the accompaniment imitates the rocking movements of the boats in a simple harmonic pattern. In Mendelssohn's Song Without Words, a pedal point that sounds over long stretches also emphasizes the calm rocking of the gondola's movement. It is now important to pay attention to how the melody relates to the accompanying figure. This is also crucial in the Gymnopédie. The accompaniment has an accent on beats 2 and 5, marked here with thirds. In contrast to the accompaniment, the upbeat melody unfolds a rhythmic counterpoint with accents on beats 1 and 3, and 4 and 6. The form of the gondola song enjoyed great popularity throughout the 19th century. It built a bridge from folk music traditions to salon music and into the spheres of the most sophisticated art music. By far the most famous barcarolle was written by Jacques Offenbach for his opera The Tales of Hoffmann. At the beginning of the 4th act, Niklaus, Giulietta, and their guests sing about the night and love. Closely related to the gondola song is the lullaby, which is also based on a gentle rocking motion. An example that stands out above all others is Frédéric Chopin's Berceuse. He originally conceived the work as a collection of 16 variations. The compositional model is the same as that of Mendelssohn's barcarolle. In his Berceuse, also in 6/8 time, Chopin reduces the rocking accompaniment to a simple tonic-dominant pattern. Above this, he unleashes a variety of melodic garlands and arabesques that have a distinctly improvisational character. Accompaniment and melody are contrasted using various means. These include polyrhythms, virtual 3-part harmony, and scales that contrast with the sweeping arpeggios of the bass. Chopin intertwines the 2 levels of bass and melody even more radically than Mendelssohn had done with his swinging accent shifts between bass and melody. The melody, free of harmonic constrictions, no longer remains in a modest dialogue on equal terms with the bass figure, but unleashes a highly expressive, creative fireworks display. Jazz pianist Bill Evans followed the same pattern as Chopin in his 1958 piece, which, however, follows a 4/4 meter. His accompaniment pattern is a pair of C major 7 chords and G7 chords with a 9th and a 4th. And, similar to Chopin's elaborate variations, Evans unfolds a delicate, rhythmically contrasting improvisation over the 2 chords. Miles Davis liked the piece so much that he asked Evans to use it at the beginning of flamenco sketches on his album of the century, Kind of Blue. The pattern also has great elegiac potential. Astor Piazzolla uses it in Poma Valseato from his tango opera Maria de Buenos Aires. The melody has a rhythmic pattern that differs from Mendelssohn's gondola song, It follows the accents of the accompaniment, but separates the melody and accompaniment with an eighth note movement on the first beat. How does Satie's Gymnopédie compare to these models in terms of the relationship between accompaniment and melody? The Gymnopédie gives the impression of freezing Mendelssohn and Chopin's model into a clear crystal. Every note fits perfectly into its minimalist structure. An interesting contradiction stands out here. Satie writes Lent et doloreux as a performance instruction. The piece should be played slowly and express pain. However, seeking this expression with the usual expressive means of interpretation seems to be out of the question. It is not possible to shape the expression with harmonic means, because, as already indicated, the texture surface, which is determined by the harmony, cannot be influenced. On the other hand, the melodic movement offers options. Despite its reduction, it is anything but monotonous. The melody and repetition in bars 5 to 21 are by no means the same. The melody is divided into 4 plus 4 bars, the repetition into 3 plus 3 plus 3, with the first dotted half note on a taking on a different function. While it concludes the first phrase in the melody, it opens a group of 3 in the repetition. The response to the melody from bar 22 begins on the first beat. In bar 5, the melody still began with an upbeat figure of 2 beats. With skillful albeit discrete phrasing, this complex, asymmetrical structure of the melody can be brought out. Perhaps this remains merely a structure that exists only in the mind of the performer and is not perceptible to the listener. But that may well make sense because Satie repeatedly enjoyed writing comments and stories in his scores that only the performer could see. The triple meter is not only found in the gentle rocking and swaying of gondolas and cradles. It also has ecstatic potential. The fast forms of the triple meter were extremely suspect to the guardians of morality in the Renaissance and Baroque periods. The waltz, said to have been invented by witches, was banned and persecuted by the church before becoming the fashionable dance of the increasingly powerful bourgeoisie in the 19th century. You can find out more about this in this video. And why not subscribe to our channel, because the best is yet to come. And feel free to write what you think of Satie's music in the comments.